Hey, thanks for joining us today. And a special thanks to AXE Studios for allowing us to do this impromptu first ever episode of Welcome to the Hawk's Nest. I am sitting next to my co host,
Cody.
Cody. I am the top wop because that's what the back of my jersey says. And for those of you that don't know, Welcome to the Hawk's Nest is a Facebook group that we started, I don't know, 6, 7 years ago.
I'm not sure if it was that long ago. I think it was right after the Super Bowl, wasn't it?
Yeah, so roughly in that window.
Had some issues with some other Facebook groups. Not gonna name any names, but
Just being disrespectful and like admins just being a-holes.
picking and choosing who could say what about what kinds of people. You could say anything you want about players and disrespect them, and then certain people wouldn't be allowed to do anything. We decided we weren't about that, so we started our group, and we've done pretty good with it.
It's not the biggest, but it's well-rounded group of respectful people that are just Seahawks fans, plain and simple.
The way it should be.
Right? So, we are here today because of this off-season drama. We weren't planning on doing a show until like right around the after the draft and when the football actually got closer. But you know, every day somebody's asking me, "Hey, is Russell Wilson leaving? Are they going to trade Russell Wilson? What's going on? What's going on?" So,
Short answer on that is going to be no.
not yet. We'll see. I mean, it's kind of like a relationship after 10 years, and he's like, I don't really want to break up with you, but if I can, here's these 4 girls I would like to sleep with. But we'll get to that in a minute. So
We'll get to those girls.
yes, we'll get to those girls, and then some more girls, and maybe even more or less. Who knows? So you know, check us out on Facebook. Always check out AXE as well. After the show, stick around, check out their extra content if you like it. Give it a like, subscribe, whatnot, and keep an eye out for us in future episodes of Welcomes to the Hawk's Nest. So, basically, what we'll kick off is to get everybody up to speed on what exactly has transpired and what has brought all this drama about. So, started off, season ends. Pete Carroll fires Brian Schottenheimer.
Yep.
You know, hires a.
Much needed, in my opinion.
I think there was a lot of issues. I think there was issues when he first started here. He wanted his offense his way, and it clashed with Pete and Russ. So, you know, hired.
I feel the Russ thing. He did help Russell grow in the way that he played quarterback. So I don't think it completely clashed with him, but it definitely clashed with the way Pete Carroll runs an offense.
I think the first year kind of clashed.
Yep.
I mean, I remember a couple issues where he kept checking plays, and then Schottenheimer had to call timeouts because they ran out of clock, and then it seemed like they put the same play in, and it just got stuffed.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, running on 3rd down and 8. Yeah, the defense is kind of going to pick up on that. But, you know, we'll see. I think newly acquired Shane Waldron, which was on Russell's list of people that, you know, I didn't know he was going to be the OC, but he was former quarterback coach for the Rams. So in-house, he's seen him, 6 times in his career? So actually, well, with the playoffs and stuff like that, actually more than that. So we'll see if he can change things up, you know, get the ball out of Russell's hands a lot quicker.
Yeah, in multiple ways.
So after that, you had the Super Bowl, which right before that, Russell Wilson won. You know, congratulations, Walter Payton Man of the Year.
Yeah.
Big award. He's going to have a little patch right here on his jersey. Him and I think 5 or 6 people that are currently playing that still have that patch on their jersey.
That's a huge award too, and that's something that he's been they're kind of in the running for yearly with everything that he does.
Yep. That's kind of like, well, you didn't get the MVP. You haven't gotten a vote for MVP, but we'll give you this award to just kind of get you in the mood for just to keep things going. So he got to go to the Super Bowl. He was up there with the commish, and a lot of cameras were panned on him, a lot of grimacing faces, then a lot of experts and whatnot started to get
Let's
the ball
call them
rolling.
sources.
Yeah. Okay. Sources.
Because they always say things.
Yes. People say things. I heard it from a person.
Yeah.
A source. Anonymous. It was anonymous. So that started the ball rolling. He goes on to the Dan Patrick Show. He's talking about, his brand and his wife and family and this and that. And then Dan Patrick, being a journalist, starts, asking him questions, poking Russell, poking away, chipping away. And eventually he gets Russ to give up, not really disrespectful comments, just and I don't even want to say snide things. Just I would just call it smoke.
I'd almost just say he's being honest. Something I feel that Russell Wilson has always been genuine the way he talked. I feel that even though he's always been told, it's been said he's kind of a robot, says the same thing over and over. Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
So, but he was just more open and honest in that interview than I think he's ever actually been, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing.
I don't think
to
it's
a degree,
thing. Right?
To a degree,
some of the dirty laundry, as it's now that it's out of the bag, you can actually smell it. So.
Some of the stuff, though, is stuff that us as fans have been saying since he entered the league.
This is true, yeah. Some of it's genuine, and yeah. Some people equated it to, he's whispered and he's been talking to people for all these years, and now he just kind of yelled it out there, hey, somebody listen to me. So we'll see how that's kind of, how things have started to transpire.
And, along with that, you kind of got to give it to Dan Patrick to be able to get something like that out of a man like Russell Wilson, because that doesn't just come out from somebody like him. He always holds everything really close. He doesn't let things like that out. He's good about keeping things in-house.
But Dan's been doing it for so long. He knows the questions to ask, and if you want to shut him down, he'll just come at you from a different angle, and like he's gonna get what he needs to get out of you in one way, shape, or form. So
I plead the fifth.
Go Hawks. I did not inhale. So then after that, of course, boom, media bombshell. Watson goes into the
smoke.
Who? Yeah. He's like, what? Russell's available? And
Yeah.
Hawks, nope, not available. Nope, everything's fine. We're not trading him. Shortly after that, a source close to Russ's agent.
What was it? They said it was Russell Wilson's camp.
Yes, they called it the camp.
But who is that? That's another form of sources say.
Right. Just, it came out eventually. It was his agent, Mark Davis. I'm not sure on the name. He's a baseball agent. But here's this short list of 4 teams that Russell, he's not demanding a trade, but if he was to be traded, these would be the 4 teams that
before the 4
interested.
Leading up to that, I think the thing that led up to that is there was the story that Russell Wilson's camp was saying that he was demanding a trade. Where there was no credibility to that story. Nothing. It was another one. You see it every offseason, and that's most of these articles that I've seen I have not read because it's the same thing in the offseason every time. Sources say. And there's no naming of anything. I don't find any credibility to it. Most times it ends up being nothing. It's just talk in the offseason to keep people interested.
Just like that same source dropped right after that Russell Wilson stormed out of a team meeting on the Thursday night game against the Cardinals, where they'd lost a couple games in a row. But stormed out was in quotation, so that could just mean he exited the room. It could mean a lot of things. It doesn't mean that he just like throwing stuff up in the air and just like throwing doors and
man drinks a lot of water. He might have had to pee.
yeah. I mean, stories like that. It's just but it's hype. It's hype. It keeps this thing going because during the off season, like especially this point in time, you don't have a lot to talk about.
But you know what? It gives us a reason to be here talking to you.
That's right. And to try to keep you guys with a level head. So, not to get freaking out and this, that, and the next thing. So, after all that transpires, a week, I mean, like, we're only like a month into this. So, in the last week, last week, they had announced that, okay, the sources say that the Seahawks are taking calls and returning calls for, 10 teams had called to ask, and all of a sudden now, the Seahawks are shopping. They're shopping Russell Wilson. And what's Schneider's job?
Yep. I seem to recall earlier in the season there was a story that came out, maybe it was last offseason, about getting calls about Russell Wilson, and he straight up said, I'd be stupid not to take the calls.
That's his job.
Yeah.
Your job as a GM is to answer the phone. That's his job. I mean, especially they have 3 draft picks this year. They don't have a lot of money for free agency, and they have 30 guys that are free agent this year.
Big names.
Yeah. Big names that you guys want to keep. We can't keep everybody. That's just the name of the game. It's a business when it comes down to it. But, like I said, that's his job, is to answer that phone and find out, hey, what's his market value worth? Can I replace this guy with a handful of other people and make my team substantially better? We got bounced in the first round. Completely shut down. We're probably one of Russell's worst offensive outings in recent years. So, granted, the Rams defense top 1 or 2.
Yeah.
I mean that so
they have that one guy, one of those once in a generation players right up front.
He's killing it, man. Doesn't matter who you put him on. The guy moves around, runs through everything. So, with that came the debacle on Sunday, which season ticket holders got their, season, hey, you guys had, tickets, come on back. Your letter with, introducing new players, some old players, and blah, blah, blah. We're looking forward to you guys coming back next season when we can put fans back in the stands. Of course, the big deal was Russell Wilson's name was not mentioned in that letter.
No, they mentioned other people's names.
Yep.
I've seen some pictures of the letter on the internet. If anybody's watching and they have their season ticket holder, Sean Ryan, you should let me see that letter. I'd like to read it myself, an actual copy of it that was sent out to the season ticket holders.
I actually listened to a lawyer break that down to say that, if by any chance that there is a chance that he could get traded, if you put his name in there and you have people spending money on the premises that Russell Wilson will be the starting quarterback next year, and then he ends up not being the starting quarterback for the Seahawks, they're looking at a class action lawsuit. So legally, they were just covering their aces. And that's just the opening letter. I mean, that's not like once everything's filled, there's going to be other letters going out to, the season ticket holders with, the roster, everything that they do will be pumped into putting fans in the stands. So it's just, the way I look at it is it's a PR game right now between the ego of Russell Wilson and the franchise of the Seahawks and Pete's ego. Like, they're both going at each other, and it's like, well, if you want to play this game, I can play this game.
No, and it's 2 big egos, 2 big names. I mean, just huge personalities that are going against each other. I mean, normally in football, this would be about money. Well, in sports in general, that's already taken care of. We don't have to worry about that.
No.
At this point, it's somebody that has an actual grievance with something.
It's Russell wanting to take his brand and the actual weight of everything and being that ascending to that, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, like whatever level versus Pete Carroll just being a coach. I mean, like they both want to win. It's like each one of them have a different philosophy of how they want to win. Pete wants to do it as a team. Russell wants to be the guy. Kind of the way I see it, but
it's like he is the guy. Everybody knows he's the guy, but at the same time, he kind of has had to take a little bit of a back seat through his entire career and allow everything to just be whatever it is, and he's been okay with it. He's played the part very well. Most guys, 10 years into their careers as a quarterback, they are in charge of their offense.
Yeah.
So I could see where he's coming from.
Which leads us into the next great segue. We're going to dive into the handful of grievances that Russell brought up on the Dan Patrick Show, and that first one is having more say in the offense. With the schemes, gameplay, on-field action.
I don't know how many times as a fan I've been watching it, especially with us offensive coordinators the last few years, where I've said, just let Wilson call the ball. I've heard many other fans say it. It's something that quarterbacks do. That's their job, is to go out there. They audible out of plays. You don't see a whole lot of audibles on Wilson's end.
No.
He goes out, he calls the play, they run the play. I've seen, especially this last year, there was plenty of times where it's like you could look and see that he knows it's not going to work, but he plays the game. He goes with what his offensive coordinator tells him to run. Unfortunately, this last year, it turned into everybody knew exactly what it was going to be. It was either going to be a run or a deep pass.
Right. And I am one of those people that ever since Russell got his second, after his rookie deal, that was one of the things, like, Russell's going to be a franchise quarterback. He needs to be able to call the ball. And it goes back to the second game that Brian Schottenheimer was there. Russell checked a play 3 times, and they ended up having to call a timeout. I think I was just talking about it earlier. And it ended up, it was not going to work out. It was a run play. It got blown. It got stuffed. And they ended up having to punt the ball. It's, and yeah, it has to be frustrating on him because you're paying him all that money. And those 3 games that they just let him actually cook that first time, and they set a league record, 170-some points in 3 games. And every time they do a fast-paced offense, he's in charge of that. And they can move the ball.
It almost always works.
Yeah.
You put Russell Wilson in that 2-minute offense, and he moves down the field. That no huddle, and every time he's moving that ball down the field.
The other thing is, like, when they're in the actual non-fast-paced offense, they eat up so much time getting to the line that there's almost no time to call an audible. And a lot of times, like, the defense will pick up whatever's about to happen. Like, he's calling in, like, okay, I want the offensive line to shift this way. And I seen it in that Buffalo game because he thought number 22 was going to be the hot guy. And they shifted. He dropped into coverage. And, boom, the other linebacker comes in. And he had Travis Homer to block on a linebacker. And I was like, there's no way. It's just the clock management and not having to adjust. Like, you get out there, fast-paced offense, you got your play, you're going. The defense doesn't have time to react, and you don't have to do very many audibles, which hopefully new offensive coordinator, that'll work out. So, in agreement with him there. Like, yes, he deserves to have more input on the field in the schemes and calling the ball. Like,
That is his job. That's what they're paying him for. Let the man do his job.
Another thing is his next grievance was he wants more say in the personnel that are hired by the team. Which offensive coordinator, yes, Shane was on his list, so that was a good one.
That was definitely something one of the articles I did read. It was definitely clickbait. The article was titled about how Russell Wilson said that Pete Carroll and his sons answer to no one. Didn't say anything about that in the article. It was just that was the headline.
I know that there was like some drama there, and one of the sons has gone on to college, but a lot of people don't know that Pete Carroll's not just the head coach of the team, but he's also head of football operations for the Seahawks. So he's his own boss.
Yeah.
And Schneider, answers to Pete Carroll. So there's kind of a problem, I think, there because, the buck stops here. There's always somebody up above.
So that's not, I believe, Mike Holmgren, didn't he have the same situation when he was coaching the Hawks? Wasn't he also head of football operations?
He might have.
So, and I believe when he went to the Browns, he did the same thing.
We had different ownership, though, then. Paul Allen, no offense to her, and rest in peace, but his sister, who's in charge of the team with the Vulcan Group, it doesn't seem like they really, give two shits about football. So Pete's going to do what he wants to do, and which kind of could work out, could not. So, yeah. But like anything, it either works out or it doesn't. So hopefully it works out. As far as like other personnel, it was last season that he wanted go out and get AB, go get these players, and to a point, I'm like, yeah, he's always on. He wants a marquee tight end. He wants a big name tight end, and I'm like, well, you got Jimmy Graham. You didn't really utilize him the way you should have.
Yeah, was that on Wilson or who's that on?
Or were they trying to make Wilson happy? But then they also this last season went out and got Greg Olsen, and he got injured. So who knows?
He spent a lot of time injured.
First game, interception. It's just.
But he did make some big plays. You got to give him that too.
But you also have you drafted. You got Disley, who in and off injuries. What's his name? Cody Parkinson. Big dude. Like they drafted him last year, 6'8", tight end.
Luke Wilson back.
Yeah. No, Luke.
Luke's gone now.
Yeah.
But he was back last year.
Good luck to you in rugby. It's a bummer that Double L's out again because the guy, he goes out there, he's a gamer, man. He's all business.
That Wilson to Wilson connection is a classic.
Yep. And his thing with the tight ends and stuff, because he saw what Brady did when he went to Tampa Bay. They went out and got Gronk. They went out and got Fournette. They went out and got Sue. They went out and got this player and that player. And Brady went to a team that was already established. The only reason they didn't go to the playoffs the year before is because Winston threw 40 interceptions. Russell gets paid $35 million a year. Tom Brady only got paid $15 million last season. So that $20 million difference is what paid for
everybody,
those other players to show up.
Along with the people they went and picked up.
Antonio Brown was $750,000 because they only picked him up, one of the last... Oh, yeah, it was week 14?
Veteran minimum?
Yeah, week 14 is when he was eligible to play. I'm sure he'll get good money this coming season, but watch what happens with Tampa Bay this year because Tom Brady's going to get $30 million this year. Even though I heard he's going to restructure to get another 2 years out of the deal, which is what he does. The guy makes enough money. He's made enough money. His wife is rich. He's rich. And he's been doing this for a decade. Russell Wilson is rich. His wife's rich. But we'll see in 2 years when his contract comes up, is he going to go for a less money contract or is he going to be the $45 million guy? Because Mahomes is at 42, Dak 40. You're insane, Jerry Jones. Guy's still in a cast.
Who else were they going to go for, though? I mean, I guess they could have gone across the state and tried to get Deshaun Watson.
They could have. Just bring the red rifle back, but that team imploded. It'll be interesting to see how things go. I don't think it was just Dak's presence that tanked that team. But that's a whole nother show.
And this is Welcome to the Hawks Nest,
Yes.
so we don't care about what's going on in Dallas.
So I'm hit and miss on, his wanting to be more involved in the personnel and, if it's players, if it's coaches and stuff that he's working with, I'm all for it. But, certain players, that's kind of, it's got to be a joint decision on management and...
I think it's, you can give your input, but do you decide who gets hired? No,
Right.
That's not what you're there for. The coaching, I think, him thinking that, yes, this is a good person for my playing style because he knows how he plays, that's a good thing. That was in that article, was that one of his grievances was hiring coaching staff, and it straight up said in that article that they chose one of the people that he signed off on. It's
Right.
like, okay, so this article is saying that they did what he wanted.
Right.
Great.
They're listening to you. So, from our perspective, some of the things just,
Just
don't make
seems like
sense.
they're digging.
Yeah. So the last one is the huge elephant in the room. It's the protection. Russell wants more protection. So this group was actually the best offensive line he's had in his career.
There were some games that definitely showed it too. But then there's some games that it didn't.
Right? Yeah. Which goes down to coaching and players going in and out. The middle of the offensive line is where the center position is the problem. Which hopefully this offseason they go out and get a free agent center. But
Free agent, or even if they were. I'm not sure what the draft is looking like this year, but if they found a really good guy coming out of the draft, take a early round.
Well, they only
lineman.
they have a second round pick, which I've seen either a guard or a cornerback. So I'm hoping it's guard. They throw around the number that Russell Wilson got sacked 47 times this season, which was third in the league. According to PFF, which is a website that breaks down every single stat and blah, 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 the offensive line only gave up 16 of those sacks. So 31 of those went on to either a tight end or running back or, Russell himself holding the ball too long, which there's only 3 other players that actually hold the ball longer than Russell, and Deshaun Watson, number 1, and he's 1 sack ahead of him, and then Mayfield and Roethlisberger, which blew my mind.
Well, the thing with Roethlisberger is he's got a line that allows him to hold the ball that long.
And those 2 other guys, they'll throw the ball away.
Yeah.
Just there's nothing there, it's gone. Whereas, how many times Russell will still try to run out, and he'll wait till his knee's down and then throw the ball.
But how many times have we all loved him doing that, because then all of a sudden he makes a huge play, which it's
that home run highlight play,
burning the candle at both ends there.
So that's kind of what got me into. So the rest of the nation sees Russell 4 times a year, including the playoffs, and then in the highlights every week. we see him week in, week out. So we see, um, the full package. I mean, like, whereas, the media and the sources and the experts are, ripping his O line left and right, which I take it. I don't like that because, I've said it before. And you start pointing fingers, there's three fingers pointing back at yourself. And once I started looking into, well, they only gave up 16 sacks. So 31 of these are on you, bro. And like I said, that's the best O-line he's had in his career, ranked 14th this year, which I didn't think that they would be that high. But the Super Bowl years, 27 and 19th. And then after that, dead last. But you had number one, number two, number 5 defense, and that slid away because the money shifted his way, and you didn't have those games that were close games that the defense could hold and give Russell a chance to bring the offense back.
Well, and I mean, you have to just look at the money in general of those years. I mean, how many?
All those guys were on rookie contracts.
All of them.
Yep.
The year that we won the Super Bowl, our highest paid player was Zach Miller, our tight end.
Like 18.
I believe, it was either 14 or 18 million. I mean, and then now you have Russell Wilson making 35.
Yeah, like I think we were talking about it. The year he came into the league, we had just signed Matt Flynn to a
$52 million contract.
Yeah,
which was crazy. And it was all because he threw 6 or 7 touchdowns against the Lions.
Yeah, and 433 yards and one good game.
Yeah,
like we need that.
He came in as a backup. Played against the Lions. The Lions, if I remember correctly, didn't win a game that year.
They
either didn't win a game or they only won one game. It was one of those. They were last in the league, and Matt Flynn had a phenomenal game against them. They were the Lions that everybody knows.
Well,
and
we did the same thing kind of with Matt Hasselbeck. Like, he had a great game, his last game in Green Bay, and they were like, okay. But at that point in time, we had the best offensive line
not
in the
only
NFL.
that, but we had picked up Mike Holmgren, who Matt Hasselbeck had played under as the backup to Brett Favre. So he already knew how he played. He knew how to run Mike Holmgren's offense.
Yep.
So it made sense. And look what happened. I mean, it really helped that we had the best running back in the league as well. Best running back, best line. And then
we won't talk about that Super Bowl. That was But going back to Russell's protection issue, so sacks aside, Russell threw for over 4,200 yards this year and 40 touchdowns. So obviously his protection was actually pretty good to get those kind of numbers. Like, you want that for your legacy, Russ, but your team is still part of your legacy, man. Like, those guys put in work so you could get those stats. So that's kind of just the way that I look at it.
And the other thing that you got to look at is you look at the defenses that we played just in our division. And they have some of the best pass rushers on those defenses that we played 2 times a year. All 3 teams. So
Niners were kind of beat up, but and then like Arizona this year, they just added J.J. Watt. So I mean, and our defense has kind of gone the other way. Like they came on strong the last 6 games. They were 26th ranked. They ended up the season 17th. So we finished off like the numbers didn't seem to pan out for a team that was 12-4, but they made it work, and we'll see where things go. I mean, like, going in to the draft and everything, we're like, Seahawks are 7th in the power rankings, which I don't even know how, because like half of our team is free agents and this whole debacle. Which
the offensive line is an interesting one for me. I feel we've been really pieced together, offensive line. I miss some of the big, dirty, nasty offensive line players.
Like Bino, Giacomini.
Giacomini was one. Was it?
James Carpenter was just released by the Falcons yesterday. He only gave up 3 sacks last year, had
Carpenter
0
would be a good
penalties.
one.
He's a big dude.
I'm trying to think. Was it Glowinski? I think. No, maybe Giacomini.
Glasgowski?
The guy with the eyebrows.
Mm.
I can't remember his name, but he was one of the nastiest offensive line players that we ever had, and I used to love Russell Wilson. If he got touched, he would be right there every time. Like, you know, the little tap afterwards at the end of the play, he'd be in there. No, you do not touch my quarterback.
Bino was the same way.
So we need more of those players.
I mean,
The big.
Brown and Lewis are great at the tackles. Shell, that other guard on Lewis's side, good. I mean, Upati retiring leaves a void.
That's huge. That's a huge loss for us.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that Posick was originally a guard, not a center, because he's small for a center. I don't remember which. If he
A
was
lot
left.
of our centers have been small for centers.
Dude, Joey Hunt was tiny.
Dude, but did you ever think that maybe they do that on purpose because Russell Wilson's short for a
Yeah,
quarterback?
so he can see that
Yeah.
part of the field. He can. Yeah, it makes sense. So the grievances aside, we had the list of the 4 teams that were given to us, or by sources. New Orleans, I mean, they were 71 million over cap. They've knocked it down to, I don't know, 30 something still over cap with cutting players. They cut Emmanuel Sanders today. They restructured Drew Brees. There's no way that even happens unless they trade as Cameron Jordan and a first round pick, because they literally only have Taysom Hill as their quarterback on the roster because Drew Brees is retired. So he restructured his deal to $12 million. So I don't see that in any way, shape, or form transpiring.
No.
Dallas was the other one, and we just saw, they just gave Dak 4-year, $160 million, $126 guaranteed, and he's still got a cast on his foot. But they franchise tagged him as well, so I think that's an out if things don't transpire and work out. I don't know how that actually works. If anybody knows anything about that situation, go ahead and comment down below, because that one baffles me. Vegas was another one. Sounds good on paper.
Yeah, they still got Derek Carr there.
And Marcus Mariota.
Yeah.
Which people were... one of the first quarterbacks that people were going to go after was Marcus Mariota, until they found out in his contract that if he's a starter, his base salary goes from $10.75 to $20 million. So all of a sudden, like, his pond just dried up. For that kind of money, a little bit more money, you can get a Deshaun Watson, or I don't know, somebody. I mean, they're only paying Derek Carr $22 million, so yeah, the picks aren't there. Which leads us to the last team on that is the Chicago Bears.
Chicago Bears have some stuff that they could trade.
Yes, they do. And it's not the draft picks, it's everybody seems to like the experts say, oh, if you trade Russell, you need to trade him for another quarterback. And I was like, not necessarily, man. Like, no, you don't need to do that.
They have that one guy out there plays on the other side of the ball.
Yeah, they have I have a little theory. I mean, since Russell's brother works there, or he works and lives there, a trade there. I mean, Chicago, like you said earlier, I don't think we were on here, but they're all in for either Watson or Russell Wilson, and they're in a situation where their front office, their jobs are kind of on the line, so they're in it to win it. They're like the drunk person left at the bar, just looking for a little action. Man, they'll go for just about anything, and they might do something stupid.
Yeah. Let's throw our money around. Let's buy everybody a round of, I don't know, what's your most expensive tequila back there?
Who's taking me home tonight?
Yeah.
And I ran it through my head. Feel free to pass this along to Schneider. But if you were to go that route, you get a Hicks at defensive end, which you just let Carlos Dunlop go. You get Khalil Mack at linebacker, which KJ Wright, sorry to say, he's gone, but then you still got Bobby Wagner. And then you can get either Burns or Crawford, which are two corners that they've drafted in the last couple of years. They're still going to be under rookie contracts for a couple of years, which could easily plug into where Griff was playing. And, I think you just bumped up to probably the number 3 defense in the NFL with those moves.
That would be crazy. That would leave a huge void because who do we got as backup quarterback right now?
Geno Smith. But the free agent market, Alex Smith is
Deshaun Watson.
Well, that's big money because if they try to trade Russell Wilson right now, it's a $39 million cap hit. If they wait till after the draft, June 2nd, it's only a $13 million cap hit, which the other 26 would be next year. But next year is what the Seahawks are looking for because apparently they have $136 million to spend. So they're banking on a lot of signing people this year, doing them on multi-year deals, and giving them more money on the back end. Which, so if you sign Mack and Hicks, restructure their deals, add 2 more years to it, you got Crawford or Burns. They're still in rookie contracts, and I think they were second-round drafts, so they're not in the millions of dollars. And then, unfortunately, people are going to hate this, but as a good show of faith to the Bears, on draft day, you trade Tyler Lockett to the Bears, giving them a second offensive weapon, and you get a second and a third-round pick for him, which gives the Seahawks 2 second-round picks and a third, a fourth, and a sixth, which then in the second round, you get that a guard or some kind of offensive line guy. You get another corner and, bank on free agency for a quarterback because you're just going to basically need a game manager because they've already said they're going to run the ball. So you have number 3 defense or up in there, maybe even better than that because, dude, the safeties are stacked. Was it Neal, the other corner that we brought in from San Francisco? Or Reed? Reed and
DJ
Neal.
Reed?
Yeah. Played solid. I think Neal's the other safety.
Got an interception against the team that cut him.
And then Jordan Brooks. Another killing it, man. Like,
we still got
Puna Ford. Rasheem Green.
What was the defensive end that we picked up from Tennessee that we didn't even see play last year?
I don't remember, but I know that he was on the.
He was injured all year. He was set to come back around the playoffs, and he never did.
Right. He was activated that day.
Yeah. But he should be back this year. So we got some stuff on the defense that should look good,
And especially in the NFC West. It's going to be the best defensive. You're going to have to do something to make, like, a 17th ranked defense ain't going to cut it in the NFC West this upcoming season. It's not going to be people aren't going to be lighting up the scoreboard in these games.
Nope. It's going back to
smash mouth football.
Yeah, the way that we like it.
And Yeah, I don't see. We'll see what happens with the Niners. Like I don't think they're in the same situation we are. A lot of smoke around Garoppolo, and they're running and blah blah
There's a
blah.
lot there, but I mean, as much as I hate to give them any credit to anything, they had more injuries than anybody
Oh, yeah.
last year.
Yeah,
Everybody on that team was injured at some point in time.
A bright spot is them and the Rams lost 4 coaches on both teams, which 2 of the Rams coaches came to the Seahawks. So good for us. We'll see what closing thoughts on this whole situation.
Personally, I think this is typical early off-season blowing smoke. There's obvious grievances that normally you wouldn't hear come out of this person's mouth. They finally did. I kind of almost feel like, in a way, good on him for finally being a real person and talking. At the same time, I feel you got to be careful. Those are the guys. The guys you're complaining about are the guys that protect you. So it's a double-edged sword, right?
It's going to be really weird if they don't do something to patch this before, when he if nothing. I would have expected, a Dwayne Brown or somebody else to, hey, no, like y'all just need to calm down, because you would think that he's on speed dial. You would think that all those guys are on speed dial on his phone. But I saw that Russell was in Cabo swimming with sharks, so I'm like, maybe he's not as concerned about this as, or maybe he has no idea. Like I would expect that he knows he's like a publicist or something. Like, hey, this story is going out there, and it's running this way. I know he's having his family time, but that's your family for 6 months out of the year, and those are the guys that protect you,
Yep.
and get you that big money. Like,
normally it could have to do with state of the world today, but normally about this time of year, you see Russell Wilson taking his offensive line to Hawaii or something like that. Haven't heard anything like that this year.
Yeah, he always does something good for him. Scooters, TVs. I think he bought them all scooters for Christmas or something like that. No, the little. I saw Dwayne Brown in one. He just looked goofy, but it's going to be really awkward if nothing transpires prior to that. Or even Pete and Russell, just not a Zoom meeting, like an actual. Hey, come on in. We got to figure this out. I mean, not just show up. Training camp, and then you walk into that locker room. That's going to be.
So, I expect to be hearing. Well, to stop hearing this stuff. Right now, they need something to talk about. They're digging for anything. Sports in general just need stuff to talk about because there's not a lot happening in sports right now.
People just don't care to watch TV. Ratings down and.
Here's a great story.
And there's nothing happening with this Watson other than like he's demanding a trade. He doesn't want to play, but nobody's making moves. So here's Russell Pop Smoke. I'll give you all something to talk about. Which, I mean, like, it could just be just this big giant PR thing from the whole thing involved.
Russell Wilson did just come out with his podcast.
I kind of think that hurt the season for us last year, because that's when he started to have issues turning the ball over. Was at that point in time when it became more of a more than once a week thing, which there it is him making his brand where it's, I don't know if he's still that guy that shows up at 5 something in the morning looking over game footage, and I don't hear that anymore, so I don't know if it's true or not.
But, at the same time, how long do they talk about that until all of a sudden, even the big quarterbacks, Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, stuff like that, the only time you would hear that is when they were having the most stellar game of their career where they're just picking apart a defense, and then it's like they start, here's something to talk about. Yeah, this guy comes
like after the Super Bowl. They talked about Tom Brady still being up at 12:30, sending all of his receivers screenshots of defenses. Like, hey, if you see this, this is what we're gonna do. Like everybody else is still sleeping. He's up at 12:30 the night before the Super Bowl. I mean, like, but I get it. Like he's that guy that just watches footage and that's why he does what he does. I mean, when this first broke, I was just basically like, look, it is like you were saying. It's just one of those things that happens every offseason. I mean, the reality is Russell will probably he'll still be the starting quarterback of the Seahawks next year. It could be really awkward. It could be, another magical year. There's a lot of things to address, and other than the stuff that he brought up on the flip side of everything. But, right now, like I said, he's probably going to be the quarterback. Maybe a 20% chance that he gets traded. It's just not financially viable at this point in time.
At this point, we're all in the same boat. We're just sitting here, completely unsure of what's going on. All we could do is choose to listen to the rumors, choose not to listen to them, go about our lives. Yeah. We still have plenty of time before the season actually starts, before we actually know if Russell Wilson will or will not be our starting quarterback.
And stop stressing out about it. It's not. Why are you stressed? Like, there's COVID, there's all this other stuff. Why are you stressing out about if Russell's going to be a quarterback next year for the Seahawks? Remember, it's not up to any of us.
It's just a game.
Yeah, go about your life. If it happens, it happens. Like, the people that, if they get rid of Russell, I'm not going to be a Seahawks fan. And I'm like, well, I guess you weren't a fan to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
So
these are the same people that don't understand that the Seahawks used to be in the AFC West. Or, they are the same fans that hate Richard Sherman because he now plays for the 49ers, that don't look at the fact that we released him. And he brought his contract back to the Seahawks, said, can you match this or beat it? And they said, no, that's a great contract, take it.
It was huge. It was way too much money. No offense.
It's a business. Yeah. Football is a business.
But that's the other thing. These people don't understand that end of the business. Like, they don't understand the salary cap and all the other stuff that goes along into it. I mean, I saw the mayor of the Saints was like, "Come on down to the Saints."
The mayor of the Saints.
Well, mayor of New Orleans. Yeah, I guess mayor of the Saints. Well, apparently he thought, or she thought, she was the mayor of the Saints. Come on down. We'll put you guys up. Yeah, you're $71 million over cap.
Yeah, but did you see that the mayor of Seattle said nope?
Well, I mean, imagine a politician not understanding budget. Yeah. So it doesn't surprise me. But yeah, just go about your life. Don't worry about what's going to happen. I mean, it's going to happen whether you want to or not. I mean, if you don't like it, you don't have to watch football. I mean, you can always jump ship. I'd like to take a moment to thank AXE Studios for hosting us on this, I said, impromptu episode of Welcome to the Hawk's Nest. If you would so kindly, stick around after the show, check out some of their content. If you like it, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. I mean, hit that subscribe and
hit the share button if you really like it.
Sure.
I mean, do the same thing with this video.
Yeah.
Share it. Let everybody know.
Yeah. If you got to subscribe. That way, and hit the notification bell, because we'll be back at some point in time.
No, and not only that, but there's that comment section. If there's something you want us to cover as far as the Hawks are related, leave a comment. Tell us what you want us to talk about.
Hell, you could talk about this video. Like, what's your opinion on the situation? We can shake our heads.
We'll get on there. We'll comment back to you. We'll have conversations in the comments section.
And if you're on Facebook, jump on over to, welcome to the Hawk's Nest. It's with the 2 in there.
The number 2. Welcome,
welcome
number
to-
2, the Hawk's Nest.
Bunch of good people. Welcome to join. And with that, I'll leave it with a go Hawks.